多分あの日から。
あの日、星が降った日。それはまるで
夢の景色のように、ただひたすらに美しい眺めだった。
ああ、このまま僕たちの声が世界の端っこまで消えることなく届いたりしたらいいのにな。そしたらね、二人でどんな言葉を放とう、消えることない約束を二人でせーので言おう。願ったら何がしかが叶う、その言葉の目をも見れなくなったのは一体いつからだろうか、何故だろうか。ああ、雨の止むまさにその切れ間と虹の出発点終点と、この命果てる場所に何かがあるっていつも言い張っていた。いつか行こうぜ生命も認め開拓の感情にハイタッチして時間にキスを5次元にからかわれて、それでも君を見るよ。また初めましての合図を決めよう。君の名を今追いかけるよ。
Now, alright, listen, I know this is a little different from what I usually make, but bear with me, it's a good video, I swear. Your Name is a novel with a film adaptation which I'm going to be using clips from, because it would be a crime not to use this stunning artwork. Your Name has been highly acclaimed for its movie version, though I feel like the book is way too underappreciated. It covers a lot more, and much more of the plot holes are missing. That reminds me, even the author himself said he does not like the movie because there are way too many plot holes. That he re-scrapped and reused a lot of things. Here, let me pull up an example. This scene right here never happens. It's on almost every single promotional item, but it never happens. This book has no easy way of making a summary without leaving important plot points, but I'll try. The story begins with two main characters, one of them being a girl named Mitsuha Miyamizu, and a boy named Taki Tachibana. Living in completely different worlds from one another, Taki living in Tokyo where life is too busy to worry about traditions and festivals, and Mitsuha living in a small town where old traditions are very prominent. Both of their lives will change forever when they witness a meteor splitting into two. Taki desires to be an architect, and he has really good memory as well. This is important. Mitsuha is a shrine maiden, and her responsibility is to appease the gods by creating string bands. This braiding thing is called kumihimo, and it's, I think, a way of a gift to the gods. I'm not entirely sure, as I've not really been able to find anything about it. Just videos on how to do it, not videos explaining its importance. So, back to the video. And playing the role at most festivals. She is a maiden, mainly because of her mother that passed away, putting her in the top position to become the shrine maiden. Also, their father is the mayor, so that doesn't really help her not being a shrine maiden. Oh yeah, she really hates being it too. For some unexplained reason, after they watch the comet fall out of the sky, they start swapping bodies every other day, with no memory of what happened the previous day. And this isn't even the confusing part yet. With the first swap occurring, Mitsuha has a nice day in Tokyo where she's always wanted to go, pretending it's a dream, because how would you explain just waking up as a guy? But once it happens the second time, she gets a strange message written on her arm by Taki, simply stating, "Who are you?" After both of them come to the conclusion that they are swapping bodies, they set specific rules to each other of what they can and cannot do, and they also teach each other how to correctly, for example, braid their hair or go to the bathroom. And they also tell each other where things are. One day, when Taki is Mitsuha, he has to go with her family to the family shrine to give the gods an offering, which I will explain what I'm talking about. Mitsuha, earlier, had to do an old tradition where she first did a sacred dance with a bell stick. I'm sorry, I don't know what it's called. And after that, her and her sister would chew up rice and spit it out, only to let it ferment, and apparently that creates alcohol, which is then used as an offering to the gods. Make sense? Alright, good. It's an old tradition that they've been doing for quite a while, so nothing really new for them. Oh yeah, and the rice, it's called sake. That's what they're creating when they chew up rice. It's called sake. That's probably important. As Taki is going on this trip to bring the sake to the gods, he really comes to an understanding of these types of things with old traditions and nature, as he has always lived in a city prior to this whole experience.
片割れ時水星見えるかな。
水星。おや、ミツハ、あんた今夢を見とるな。
After that, Taki was thrown into a date all of a sudden because of Mitsuha. Confused and crying still, he reluctantly went. And the date, well, it just went terrible. There's no just spicing that up. It was terrible. Taki decides to try and call Mitsuha, which they've never done prior for some reason. That's one of the plot holes the author is probably referencing. But he decides to call Mitsuha, and he gets a no connection error saying that the number does not exist, weirdly. So he just settles on how he'll tell her when they switch the next time. But Taki never switches with Mitsuha again. It's been weeks since they've stopped switching, and Taki is quite frustrated, so he starts drawing the scenery he saw when he was last there to try and find this town again. And that's exactly what he does, but two friends sort of force their way into helping him because he has been acting weird lately, not exactly giving them the full story, because how could you? They think you're crazy. Not knowing the town's name, he spends hours trying to find this small little town. All he has is the artwork he was able to remember and create. And after a long day, he nearly gives up, and they stop by an old ramen shop. Taki pulls out his drawings, and the owner realizes immediately what that is. It's the town where he grew up in, Itomori. Of course, Taki asks where it is, and if it was close by, but he finds out. Itomori has been destroyed for 3 years now. Told you it gets confusing, and guess what? That's only half the book, so stick with me for the next few minutes because it's gonna go by fast. Taki decides to do as much research on Itomori as possible, and has essentially gone insane at this point. When he briefly falls asleep, he remembers something 3 years ago, where some random girl gave him this red band that he wears on his wrist. This girl was, in fact, Mitsuha. The story of Your Name follows a heavy red string of destiny storyline because, if you noticed earlier, the headband that Mitsuha wears every day is the same one Taki wears on his wrist. They have always been connected. With this, he also remembers the sake he put up on the mountain shrine. He thinks this is the only way he'll be able to save Mitsuha and the rest of the town. So he practically hikes his way on a rainy day up this big mountain, and eventually he finds the shrine. He drinks the sake and has some sort of weird lucid dream with all memories of Mitsuha, everything from when she was a baby to an adult. Now more motivated than ever, and back as Mitsuha, he starts a plan to get everyone out of range of the meteor. But who's gonna listen to a couple of teens? They need motivation. One of Mitsuha's friends is stationed at the school with the comms telling everyone to head to the school, and the other one rigs explosives to a power plant to make it look like meteors just hit. Taki makes his way back to the mountain to meet Mitsuha, and after all this time, they finally do.
片割れ時だ。
They want to write names on each other's hands so they don't forget one another.
名前書いとこうぜ。ほら。え、ミツハ。おい、ミツハ。
Back in their normal bodies, Mitsuha makes it her mission to evacuate everyone and narrowly succeeds. But
忘れちゃダメな人、忘れたくなかった人。誰？誰？君は誰？君の名前は？
愛し方さえも見たくなる
名前
君のすべてをこの目に焼き付けて
ミツハ、
お姉ちゃん。
お前までまだ。
それはまるで夢の景色のように。
今日いや何兆でも生き抜いてゆこう。
guess what? Everyone lived. Taki and Mitsuha managed to change destiny, but with a price. They no longer have any memory of each other. Well, until several years later, where in Tokyo they give one of the best endings I've seen.
Kimi no namae wa?
二人の間通り過ぎた風はどこから寂しさを運んできたの。
Hey, welcome to Act 4. Here I'm going to address several points that I didn't yet understand until I finished the second book, Another Side Earthbound. I thought I should read this one because I already technically read the first one, and I've been looking for an excuse to read this. To clarify, Earthbound is not a sequel. This book adds onto the story, adding previous lost information into the original text, while still following the storyline, which I do have to give proper credit because it can be very difficult when you're not the original author. Earthbound is split into 4 segments with different character perspectives in each part. Each segment subsequently has its own chapters too. The first one is featuring Taki as Mitsuha and his first experience, as prior it was Mitsuha's perspective. The second one being about Mitsuha's friend Teshi and his struggles. The third one being Mitsuha's little sister and her investigating the strange things that have been happening lately. And the fourth is through the eyes of Mitsuha's dad, with him being the mayor and stuff. Sure, the stories are funny and cute, but not really important enough to talk about on their own. But there are some really important information that I pulled from these parts and helped me learn a lot. In the first part, I learned about how the shrine maidens are very prominent in Japanese culture. Not as much as in cities, but very prominent in small towns just like Itomori. Shrine maidens are usually the centerpiece for festivals like New Year's and such. However, this is exactly why Mitsuha wants to move. Remember, she is a shrine maiden and the mayor's daughter, which isolates her from a lot of people and attracts bullies. I learned that it's not always easy being a shrine maiden, with all the things you have to do. The second point I took note of, and yes, I actually took notes. You may not believe me, but I actually have pieces of paper in my book. I don't normally do that. Anyways, in the second part, I learned about the dances that Mitsuha did, which are called kagura. Oh, and also that bell stick from earlier, it's called a kagura suzu. Kagura being the dance, and suzu meaning bells. Simple, right? Now, in segment 3, Mitsuha's grandmother tries to explain swapping bodies to the little sister, as the grandmother has previously gone through it, as well as her daughter. She says it's because of the god Musubi. She explains Musubi as how everything is connected, even the most unlikely of people can be connected with Musubi. To sum up what she said, she referenced Musubi as rice balls, because that rice comes from the earth absorbs water from rivers, connecting rivers to soil. However, those rice are then picked by the farmers, connecting the soil to the farmer. And going way further down the line, if you could be eating the same rice that the farmers picked, connecting you to someone who's also eating rice that farmer picked. It's very strange and hard for me to express in words, but it explained a lot for me, inserting a bigger sense of the gods that take place in Japanese culture. On the surface, and according to the author himself, it's just some swapping body cliche book. But most people will disagree with this. It's not just some body swapping story. It's unique. The culture that was put into this book and film gave it depth, gave it somewhat of an explanation. There are so many hidden meanings in this that I believe there are still some references I will never understand because I'm not a native. Japanese culture is so important in this, which is why I think it's incredibly stupid that they're doing this. You've basically taken away everything that makes Your Name special with this. Thanks, JJ. There's just this charm about this book, which makes it realistic. Whether or not you believe in the god's belief theory, the charm is that this could happen to anyone, even you, and maybe you just can't remember it. Thanks for watching. Have a nice day. せーので言おうあれがあったら何かしかが叶う
の言葉の目をも見れなくなったのは一体いつからだろう